Today is a warm, partly cloudy Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. I'm in Lancaster, Ontario, Canada, on the Canadian National Kingston subdivision between Montreal and Toronto. And this was built by the English back in 1856. This was the old Grand Trunk Railway, and it was completed between Montreal and Toronto in 1856. Kingston Sub is one of the busiest main lines in Canada, seeing CN and Via Rail traffic. We're located 53.82 miles west of Montreal. Lancaster, Ontario is the first town in Ontario that you come in contact with going west from Montreal. The Quebec border is just about 6 miles east of here. Lancaster, Ontario sort of reminds me of a small Pennsylvania town out along the NS Reading line. This is just off Ontario Route 401, the longest non-federally funded limited access highway in North America. It runs about 600 miles between the Quebec border and Windsor, Ontario, near Detroit. There should be Via Rail 63 from Montreal to Toronto. Looks like he has one of the F40-2 rebuilds on him. Now further east in the province of Quebec at Coteau, Via Rail Station. The Ottawa to Montreal and Quebec City services stop here, and it's also on the Montreal-Toronto main line. West of here is Coteau Junction, where the Ottawa-Alexandra sub goes off, and also Canadian National's Valleyfield sub curves off to my left. Some locals work out of here on the Canadian National. This could be either L536 or L538. Looks like he's got a couple of GP38-2s on him. Beautiful day so far. Over the years, I've ridden this Montreal-Toronto main line numerous times on Canadian National and Via Rail passenger trains. And I remember very well the Canadian National passenger trains with their red zebra-striped F9s and FPA4s from MLW with those Canadian Car and Foundry EM cars painted in that sort of a black and dull white paint scheme. They were very attractive cars and I loved riding on them. And one of my favorite trains riding through here on was the Cavalier from Montreal to Toronto. Overnight train, left 11:30 p.m. from Central Station, Montreal, and got to Toronto 7:30 in the morning. And there's one grade crossing here that seems to be silent, although it never used to be. I remember hearing those M3H horns wailing for this crossing at speed. Right, approaching 11:24 is Via Rail Train 60 from Toronto to Montreal. 5 hours and a half schedule from the two cities, and he'll be moving through fast. It's 11:38 a.m. Got a lot of activity here. Train 65 from Montreal to Toronto should be zipping by shortly, and train 24 from Ottawa to Quebec should be arriving to pick up passengers. And you got a CN Freight to the west of us here. Arriving is Via Rail 24 from Ottawa to Quebec City at 11:40 with the new Via Rail Siemens charger sets I'm seeing for the first time running. These are SCV-42s, 4,200 horsepower. And there's a cab control car on the rear. These things look really sharp. Shortly, you should have Via 65 going west. He's being held up by this guy. Well, approaching eastbound is a typically long Canadian National eastbound freight. Looks like he's got some kind of an SD70 unit on the point, just one. No doubt it's got DPUs on him somewhere. NS9W DPU on it. Leading was an SD70M-2. NS has a few of them running, but CN has quite a few of them still running. I think Canadian National has the most diverse motive power roster of any Class 1 railroad. And this guy's tying up Via 65 from Montreal to Toronto. Well, he was held up by that freight train, but here comes Via 65, Montreal, Toronto. 5-hour and 20-minute schedule to Toronto. We got 11:58. Picking up speed, he just crossed over. We're further east in the community of Saint-Lazare, Quebec. We're at the west end, or actually the east end of a controlled siding. The relay box here is Chemin Saint-Grégoire, or St. Gregory Road, Kingston sub. And at 12:32 we have a westbound Canadian National Intermodal. This might be 149. long intermodal train loaded with steamship company containers. May have came out of the port of Montreal. All right, 110 approaching is Via 35 from Quebec City to Ottawa with some more Via charger sets here. Well, 62 is due around now, but we got another CN freight going east. 342. It was pretty sharp on that paint scheme, and those are those horns are something else. Only in Canada. He's got a P42 on the point. And moving along east on the joint CN-CP mains that run parallel, they start coming together just east of Dorion. We're at the Gare Pincourt Terrasse Vaudreuil station, or the way I would pronounce it for many years is Gare Pincourt Terrasse Vaudreuil. We got a westbound CPKC train. Moving right along. They run about maybe 10 to 12 freights a day on this line, and you can tell it's CPKC. It had one CP painted unit and one Kansas City Southern painted unit. Okay, we're now further east on the joint CN-CPKC lines paralleling at Beaurepaire Exo Station after negotiating an absolutely horrendous traffic jam due to a malfunctioning traffic light west of St. Anne de Bellevue. There's the CPKC, also used with Exo trains out to Vaudreuil and Hudson. And there's the CN Kingston subdivision, shared with Via trains. 342 is 26 from Ottawa to Quebec City. Kind of suicide prevention, Canada style. Besoin de parler, nous sommes à l'écoute. Need to talk? We'll listen. Well, if you hear me talking in Long Island French, you may not want to listen. And the two railroad lines here, that's obviously where that CN maintenance vehicle is, the CN Kingston sub. And this is the old Canadian Pacific M&O sub, Montreal and Ottawa. It was their main line between Montreal, Windsor Station, and Ottawa. The Canadian used to run through here until it was rerouted. Get out of there. Okay, approaching at 353 is Exo Train 17 from Montreal to Vaudreuil. going to start running kind of frequently at this time of day now. That's an ALP 45DP dual mode, runs on overhead wire and diesel. These are a bit overkill now because they don't have any need to use the electrification. They went through the Mount Royal tunnel and they used the electrification there, but that's been turned into a REM line. Now the Mascouche trains take a different route that doesn't involve electric lines. These are exactly like the New Jersey Transit version. This area that we're in, as well as a few other stations, is on the island of Montreal. Yes, Montreal is an island surrounded by rivers, and this area is largely English speaking, but you would never know it from the signs. Here's via 64 Toronto Montreal. And at the same time, 428, this is XO19 from Vaudreuil. Another DP in the back. I was under the impression they had other engines like F-59s. Hopefully I'll get to see one. Well, we've moved further east and you're looking at the beautiful EXO depot in Beaconsfield. That's a very English name. That's an old Canadian Pacific depot that was built by an American back in 1917. And right alongside on the south side is the old Grand Trunk Main Line from Montreal to Toronto. Well, time is 4:58. Shortly, train 121 will be arriving from EXO en route from Montreal to Vaudreuil. The downtown Montreal station is currently under construction, so all the trains on this line are originating or terminating at Vendôme. EXO is it's a fairly decent system. I can't help but feel it could be more intense for a city of Montreal's size. Its main route is this particular route up to Vaudreuil. It has lines east out to Candiac, up to Saint Jerome. Out of Central Station, Montreal, they run trains to Saint-Lazare and Mascouche. But the service is a far cry from what GO Transit runs in Toronto on their Lakeshore route, roughly every half hour. And there are other routes on GO Transit that are getting off-peak hour service as well. That's a bit more frequent. And I'll investigate those lines in a month's time. Gare Beaconsfield. Gare means station. This is a very nice area. This part of the island of Montreal is very nice. 5:02 is a little bit late. There's EXO train 121. Other than the paint, this could be a New Jersey Transit train in disguise. These are the Bombardier bi-levels that New Jersey Transit uses, and I noticed that even these have the same problem with the windows. The type of glass that they use, it gets fogged up on the south side. Look at that horn on top. Comes via 37, Quebec City to Ottawa. And those train sets are dazzling. We move further east to the EXO Pointe-Claire station, or Point Claire. Here comes train 28 from Vaudreuil to Vendôme. There aren't many trains that go into the city. Montreal is a much bigger city than San Francisco is, and San Francisco now has half-hourly service 7 days a week into San Francisco. I'm told that the New Jersey Transit ALP 45 DPs are fuel guzzlers, and I'm sure those are as well. And fuel costs a lot more up here in Canada than it does in the States. Just to give you an example, price of gasoline I saw at a station in Ontario was $1.41 Canadian per liter, and there's 3.79 liters to the gallon. So converting that to gallons and converting that price to US dollars, that's $3.90. There was train 69 from Montreal to Toronto. He makes the run in a little over 5 hours, sort of like a Rapido. That was 4 hours and 59 minutes, and I rode on many of those trains years ago. Here's 23 for Vaudreuil. That emergency horn from the engineer, a little greeting. That was the most exciting thing about looking at these trains. These are kind of boring. We move further east to the Via Rail station in Dorval, Quebec, right near Pierre Trudeau International Airport. We got train 28 coming in from Ottawa to Quebec City with a Siemens train set. And the time is 5:52 p.m. as these sleek trains come in here. I love these train sets. They're gorgeous. This one's got some kind of a plaque on it. Those are the perfect train sets for these runs. He'll pull in a central station and then he'll reverse out with the cab car leading. Well, right next to us here at the Via station, which is the former Canadian National station, is the former CP station, now the EXO station, Dorval. And we got another one of them double-decker trains again with another one of those engines in the back. I swear when I get back home, I'm probably gonna throw up if I see another ALP 45 DP. Well, these do look different. It's a change of pace, I'll say that much. And they are rather colorful. Yeah, he's bound for Vaudreuil. Well, you can do some airplane watching here at Dorval too. We got an Air Canada Express Mitsubishi arriving from Deer Lake, Newfoundland. Here's an Air Canada 737 MAX arriving from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Snuck up on me. That was Air Quebec flying in from Kingston, Ontario with a Canadian product airplane, a de Havilland Dash 8, made in Toronto. Oh, this large building is the Via Rail Canada station here at Dorval. I remember years ago when it was a Canadian National passenger station, had a big red CN logo on top with the white spaghetti noodle in it. And this was even a block station. There was a block operator that hooped up train orders here. And coming into the EXO station at Dorval at 6:26 is train 27 from Montreal to Hudson. One of the few trains that terminate there. Got the usual Bombardier high-level cars, bi-level cars. Right behind this guy, you got a CPKC and a moto poised to head west. Well, it's twilight time at 6:50. Approaching is Via Rail 669 from Montreal to Toronto. You see another headlight there? That's EXO 29 from Montreal to Vaudreuil. And he's got a CPKC and a moto ready to follow him out of town. And right behind 669 will be 39 from Quebec to Ottawa. So busy times in Dorval. think I used to see FP7s, GP9Us, shoving trains out of here. Oh man, those were the days. Via Rail P42 911. Now maybe that freight train will move west. See some of those older LRC cars when they were delivered back in the 80s. They were delivered with those MLW LRC locomotives that are long gone. I tell you, I've had some interesting times up in Canada riding the rails, but there was one time where I nearly got arrested. It was out in British Columbia. Me and an English gentleman were out in Field, which is a Canadian Pacific division point, crew change point on the CP. And we were there on the platform, the station platform, and this eastbound freight train came in with 3 SD40-2s on them. And we were traveling with a bunch of younger rail fans who were local from Calgary, and they arranged with the crew to allow me and this English gentleman to ride in one of the rear SD40-2s. And we climbed on board those engines, and we were in the third engine. And imagine climbing out of Field, going through the spiral tunnels in Run 8. What an exhilarating experience that would have been, and probably asphyxiating as well. Well, as we pulled out of Field, a conductor who was going to board the Canadian going westbound spotted us, and he called the police. And the crew on the locomotive crew heard it on the radio that they were doing that. And the rail fans, fortunately, who weren't that far away, also heard it on their scanners. So the crew on the freight train, when they got that news, they stopped the train and told us to get off and disappear somewhere. And we were like, oh God, we're gonna get arrested. And fortunately, when we got off, those rail fans were nearby in the car, and they took us on board and whisked us away. And oh my God. Imagine getting arrested up in Canada. I don't have a criminal record, but me and that English gentleman, oh, that was a close one. Oh, coming west on the CN at 7:05. This looks like a freight train. It's too early for train 39. This guy's moving pretty good. goes to CPKC Intermodal. Comes via train 39 at 7:14 with another Siemens set. They pretty much use these exclusively on the Ottawa-Quebec trains and the Toronto-Ottawa trains. And there goes the CPKC manifest. You had some autos in the back. Off to Ottawa he goes. It's been an exciting day along the CN Kingston sub with the CN freights. I saw quite a few. Those beautiful Siemens train sets on via, and the F40s and the P42s and CPKC and those EXO trains. Okay. Well, I had a really interesting day in Canada, Railfanning the CN Kingston sub, getting those beautiful Via Rail Siemens trains. They really look cool. And quite a few freight trains. I saw 5 CN freights and 2 CPKC freights. And those EXO trains that look like repainted New Jersey Transit trains. But, you know, Canada's our great neighbor to the north. I really enjoy going up there. And I'm going to go back there in a month to Toronto and railfan some of the Toronto rail scene. So, you know, stay tuned for that. And, yeah, I had a chance to railfan a lot of the EXO commuter rail stations in the West Montreal Island suburbs, and those are really nice areas. And those are definitely English-speaking areas because the stop signs I see say stop, not arrête. And when I think of the word arrête, which is French for stop, I'm reminded of back in 1972, I rode the Supercontinental. That was CN's cross-country streamliner from Vancouver to Montreal, and Toronto it went too. And I rode it from Ottawa to Montreal, and I remember it was a fairly good-sized train with 3 F9s on it. And when I got to Central Station, Montreal, I said, I got to take a picture of the engines cutting off. You know, so I went up to the front of the train, get the engines cutting off. And when you heard me talk about the stop signs that say arrête, all of a sudden I hear this voice yelling out to me in Central Station, arrête, 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 arrête. I turn around and look what's going on. There's a station master. He says, what are you doing? So I want to take a picture of the engines disconnecting. He says, oh, you're not supposed to take pictures down here. You have to go upstairs into the station. So whenever I see that stop sign, arrête, I'm always reminded of that Central Station, Montreal station master who yelled it out like 5 times, depriving me of getting those FP9s disconnecting from the Supercontinental. Oh well, I don't know what's.
Oh man,
things have changed in Canada now, but I hope you enjoy this video as much as I enjoyed shooting it.